Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Camp Hustle One here, back with another live stream. I just wanted to give you guys a quick, I guess, run over this story about Elon Musk becoming the world's first trillionaire. It was something that was brought to me, and I thought about it. I was like, we're all hustlers over here. We're all trying to improve our lives, and how can we take a lesson from Mr. Elon Musk in terms of his story and his path, and his investments and how he made his billions and now trillions. It's just something probably we could talk about. But yeah, I went ahead and put the number on screen. This is $1 trillion, and to even fathom that number from a billion to $1 trillion, it is a gargantuan amount, and that's not a number I use. It's not a word I use lightly. It truly is. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into the first video we're going to cover, talking about Mr. Elon Musk and his announcement. So this first one is going to be, it's off of the Forbes channel, but this one here is he's at SpaceX giving this little presentation, and he became the first trillionaire, and because SpaceX just basically went public with their IPO. And so yeah, we're gonna see what this is all about here. Let's check it out.
Well, thank you, Gwen. Gwen Shawwell's been an incredible partner, and was one of the first people to join the company, and so thank you, Gwen. Oh, she's in New York, of course. Where is she? Yeah, it is certainly hard to believe that a little company that started in a warehouse in El Segundo is now going public for with the largest IPO that ever. And let me tell you, if people have
damn, Elon Musk, he speaks at like 0.5 speed. Holy shit, I never realized this about him. Coke Vinny, welcome to the stream, sir. How you doing, man? Sup, Camp? Good to see you, man. Yeah, man, this is I almost want to put this on like 1.5 speed, because the way that he talks, it's like his tonation is like he takes his time. He really does. Let's put it on 1.25, see if that's a normal pace. If it's too fast, we'll just slow it back.
Told me this was gonna happen. I was like, man, you must be smoking some really good crack, because I think this company's gonna fail. I mean, I gave SpaceX less than a 10% chance of succeeding at all, to be clear. In fact, I told people this. I said, look, we're probably going to fail, but we should give it a try, because if we don't, if there's not a new company that enters space, we will never be a truly spacefaring civilization. While the other aerospace companies, they build good rockets and everything, they were simply not pursuing the technology that's necessary to make life multiplanetary, to make Star Trek, to make the exciting science fiction futures that we've read about real. And that's what SpaceX is all about, is to take the fiction out of science fiction and create an exciting, inspiring future for everyone. We want to...
Now, what does this mean? I know he has goals to send colonies to Mars and make it habitable for civilizations, and also a lunar planetary structure as well. He wants, I guess, people to colonize the moon and colonize Mars and stuff. I think the goal is like somewhere around like 1 million in population that he's trying to achieve. And, it's going to take a lot of time, a lot of money and stuff to do this. And if anybody has the funds to do this and pull this thing off, I mean, I'm guessing he could be the one to do it. But who wants to be the guinea pigs to go up to try to inhabit Mars, man? I'm sure there's plenty of people that would do it.
Be able to take anyone who wants to go to the moon, anyone who wants to go to Mars, or anyone in the solar system, and maybe beyond the solar system at some point. We want to be able to take you there. Not just a few astronauts. I mean you, literally you. If you watch, whoever you are watching this, SpaceX wants to be able to take you to the moon, take you to Mars, and ultimately beyond. And I'm confident at this point that with the incredible team that we have here at SpaceX, that we will do that for you.
Cook Manny came back. He says, my boss used to work for SpaceX as their main electrician. Really? Wow. Is he not? Why is he not working there now? I'm kind of interested. I'm sure, probably paid pretty well, right? I did hear about a welder that owned, I think it was like 4,000 shares of SpaceX stock, and now he has over like $880,000. And I think he's still a welder, but he's like, yeah, that's more money than he'll ever need, And so it's just it's good to be getting in early. Hopefully, I don't know if your boss owned any of the SpaceX stock, but I'm sure he's sitting pretty good right now.
I always think about this. There are always problems on Earth. There are always problems on Earth. There are always things that we wish to be better, that we want to solve here on Earth, and we should solve them. But there also have to be things that get you excited about the future, that make you glad to wake up in the morning, because you can't wait to see what happens next. And that's the future that SpaceX wants to bring to you. Yeah.
So Cookman came back. He says, I don't know, but he said that they were very lazy when it came to ordering materials that he needed. Interesting. Wow. Yeah, I mean, I don't really know, like, in terms of like what goes into being an electrician for SpaceX. I'm pretty sure there's hundreds, if not thousands, of people on the team, whatever. And but yeah, for them to not order the materials, that seems a little odd, in my opinion. Okay, so just a bunch of people clamoring around Elon Musk, whatever, like, yay, we did it. I mean, so that was basically, I guess, that was from a day ago. That was his little announcement and stuff. And then, so the next one we're going to talk about is from Farzad. He talks about how no one truly understands what Elon's trillion really means. And, one thing that I do understand right off, that this is not like $1 trillion in his bank account. It's going to be all tied in stocks, of course, and his different companies, from SpaceX to, Neuralink, the Boring Company. He's got all these other, corporations and stuff. So if he were to take those stocks out and, liquidate them and stuff, he would have to have a tax penalty and stuff, and or maybe there are ways that he could get around that. I'm sure after you have a certain amount of money, it really doesn't matter in terms of having a tax penalty or not. It probably wouldn't hurt him too bad. But let's check this one out. I just checked this one out, like, I haven't seen the whole thing, but I do want to kind of understand a little bit more about this whole $1 trillion network that Elon has here.
Tesla shareholders have just approved a $1 trillion compensation package for CEO Elon Musk.
Coke Mini came back. He says, now him and I guess, work for a rival company called K2 Space. It's honestly a great gig. I've never worked for SpaceX, but my boss said he likes working for K2 Space better than SpaceX. Well, I mean, that's good. That's the thing. You always want to be doing better than what you were before. Hopefully, he's getting competitive pay and maybe having a better, work-life balance. I hope. But no, that's good. It's good that he's in a better environment now.
By the time you watch this video, Elon Musk is about to, or has become, the world's first trillionaire. And this has insane long-term implications, not just for his companies and him personally, but for society at large. And I want to explore if Elon becoming the world's first trillionaire is even a real milestone at all, or whether it is just an illusion. Because
yeah, one thing I did want to mention, because I did a little bit of research on this in terms of like the world's richest people. I have heard that the next 4 people down from Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, the owners of Google, There's basically like the next four people that are in line to be the most richest people. I think like Mark Zuckerberg, whatever. All of their networks combined still wouldn't amount to Elon Musk's net worth. And then I was thinking about Saudi princes and like their net worth and stuff. Cause I figured, the Saudis have a lot of money, but it turns out that they have about 1.4 trillion, but it's scattered across, over 1,000 members in the Saudi family. So for Elon Musk to have $1.1 trillion, solely on his own and stuff, that is a huge leap. And then I wanted to know who was the richest female in the world, and that belongs to Alice Walton, which is, I believe she's like an heiress to the Sam Walton fortune from Walmart and Sam's Club. So I was like, okay, that's just a little fun fact there.
About to read or hear a lot of things about Elon becoming a trillionaire, and I want to equip you with the facts and knowledge so you truly understand what this really means. Because I found something when I started researching this video. By one honest measurement, the first trillionaire already lived. He died in 1937. And once you understand why that is true and why that's such a big deal, this whole story stops being about Elon Musk's bank account and starts being about something much more uncomfortable, about wealth, power, and about whether those two things are the same thing. This is actually an extremely complex topic with a lot of different variables that we need to cover. First, let me get into the part that actually surprised me, because I want to make sure we're working with the same information. Because there are three things you need to understand, and if you get these three things, the rest of this video is going to hit very differently. Here's the first thing, and this is the one that trips up the majority of people, and I want to go through it very briefly, and it's very important and foundational. A trillionaire is not a person with $1 trillion in a bank account. That is not what is happening here. Not even close. Elon Musk does not have a vault. He doesn't have that Scrooge McDuck freaking money pit, the pool where he's swimming. When you hear net worth, what that actually means is the market value of the things a person owns minus what they owe. And what Musk owns is stock, a lot of stock.
That's what I was saying earlier. I mean, it wouldn't make sense either to have money in a bank either, because wouldn't you lose a percentage of it over time by it just sitting there in the bank? I think it'd be better to have it tied up at least in your assets and stocks and stuff. At least that way you have a little more control over it.
He owns a big chunk of Tesla, which trades publicly, and he also owns a huge chunk of SpaceX, which until now has been private. He owns a piece of XAI, which is now a part of SpaceX, the artificial intelligence company. And how do the trackers like Forbes, Bloomberg, and all the other ones, how do they actually calculate his wealth? It is actually super simple. They take the number of shares he owns and they multiply it by the price of one share, and that's it. It's just number of shares times the price per share. After SpaceX going public, this total number will be close to or over $1 trillion. Musk himself has said that less than 1/10 of 1% of his wealth is actually cash. Now, do the math on that, and it's still a lot of money. This is honestly mind-blowing to think about. On a $1 trillion fortune, 0.1% is still $1 billion. Let me say that again. A person with $1 trillion net worth, if 0.1% of his or her fortune is in cash, means that they have $1 billion in cash. And yes, hold that thought, because that number is going to matter later. But the point stands. The man who is about
means that you can afford all 14 kids from those 4 baby mamas, man. That's just like, I mean, if anybody can have 4 wives, man, Elon Musk can have them. He can comfortably have them.
Be called the richest human in history is in terms of actual money he could spend tomorrow, holding a very tiny sliver. The trillion is paper. It is the price tag the market puts on the companies that he has built. Okay, second thing you need to understand. This is the one that does the heavy lifting for the rest of the video. There's more than one way to measure a fortune, and they give you wildly different answers. The first way is nominal dollars. That just means the face value, the sticker price, the raw number with no adjustments at all for things like inflation. Elon Musk reaching $1 trillion net worth would be $1 trillion in 2026 dollars. That's the nominal way of measuring that. But the second way way is inflation adjusted. This asks a much smarter question. How much stuff could you actually buy with that $1 trillion in that time period that you had it in? A dollar in 1913 bought a lot more bread than a dollar today, but because of inflation, that dollar has lost 97% of its value. So to compare old money to new money fairly, you have to scale it up for inflation. And so $1 billion in 2013 is worth a lot more than $1 billion in 2026. And now the third way, which is the most important one, is wealth as a share of the economy, as a percentage of everything. You take a person's fortune and you ask, what slice of the entire national economy did this one person's wealth represent? And then you scale that same slice to today's much bigger economy. Economists will tell you that this third way, share of the economy, is the only genuinely apples to apples way to compare a rich person from one century to a rich person from another, because it controls for inflation and it controls for the fact that the whole economic pie has grown enormously. So there's your three ways to measure wealth: nominal, inflation adjusted, and share of the economy. Now make sure to remember those three different ways, but now I want to hit the third thing on our list, which is the history, because we have been here before, and I mean almost exactly here. Now let's go back to 1913. The man I was referencing earlier in this video is John Davison Rockefeller. He built Standard.
The Rockefellers. I mean, that family definitely had a lot of hand in government spending and, government interests and stuff. I'm sure they were, they had a lot of pull in terms of, who was elected and, what policies were set in place and stuff. And also what tax breaks were probably, put into Standard that way that they could retain a lot of their wealth. That's one of those families, man, that pretty much have more money than the government, and they kind of can go by their own rules, man.
Oil, which at one point refined something like 90% of the oil in the United States, and in 1913 his personal fortune is estimated at around $900 million. Now 900 million does not sound like a lot next to $1 trillion, does it? It sounds almost quaint, but here is the deal. The entire economy of the United States in 1913, everything, the farms, factory, railroads, every dollar of output the whole country produced in a year was about $39 billion. Now, if we do that division, Rockefeller's fortune was a little over 2% of the entire American economy. Some historians put it as high as 3%. So think about that. More than 2 cents of every dollar of the entire country belonged to one person. So that's the foundation. Net worth is not cash, it is the price tag on stock. There are three ways to measure a fortune, and they disagree pretty violently. And 113 years ago, a man already held over 2% of the American economy. Now let me show you how Elon Musk ended up with $1 trillion, and then I'll show you why it's not what you think it means. Let's teleport back to late 2008 to a converted office in Los Angeles. Elon Musk has two companies, and both of them are running out of money. SpaceX has spent years on a small rocket called Falcon 1. Its first 3 launches all failed, all 3 of them blew up, and the company finally squeaked out a successful 4th flight in September of that year with almost nothing left in the tank. In parallel, Tesla cannot get the Roadster, its first car, out the door, and the financial crisis has frozen the entire credit market. Elon later in an interview said he had to choose. He had enough money left to fully save one company, but not both, but he ended up splitting it anyway. He put everything he had into both, kept neither really fully funded, and basically there the entire universe to kill those companies. That's the story most people sort of know, but it meant that Tesla didn't die. It became a company worth more than $1 trillion, with self-driving cars driving people from coast to coast in the US without anyone touching the steering wheel or pedals. The company is also in the process of building a fully driverless car without steering wheel and pedals called the Cybercab, an energy generation and storage behemoth, and starting production of its Optimus humanoid robot fully powered by AI. And
now, these are the robots that are going to eventually take us over and enslave the rest of us, whatever, the ones that are, the ones that survive. And yeah, I mean, it's going to basically take all of our entry level jobs, and yeah, man, it's going to be pretty rough, man. I mean, it might be good for some people that don't want to do the easy work, the data entry and stuff, all that's going to go away and stuff. But yeah, man, it's work is probably going to be an option, and all of our food is going to be genetically modified, and probably come in pill form. That's how they'll ration it out, and just add water and you got your whole meal, man, right there.
And on the other side, SpaceX didn't die either. It became the most valuable private company on the planet and will have the largest initial public offering, the act of going public in the history of the stock market by far at over $2 trillion. And a bunch of other companies like Neuralink, Boring Company, XAI, and whatever other freaking projects he's got going on. Now, because he owned a big slice of all of these, he got to ride the elevator all the way up to richest person alive, and then some. Elon Musk's net worth is more than the next 3 world's wealthiest people combined. But that is the surface. That is layer 1. Now let me show you the mechanism that has taken Elon from about 800 billion to $1 trillion, the SpaceX IPO. When a company is private, like SpaceX has been for almost 20 years, nobody really knows what it is worth on a given Tuesday. Its value only gets set once in a while, when there is a funding round or when employees sell some shares to investors. It is a guess that's updated occasionally. SpaceX's private price tag has bounced around wildly over the years. 180 billion, then 350, then 400, then around 800 billion in the most recent private deals, all the way up to 1.25 trillion once it merged with XAI. All of this is kind of fuzzy and updated every several months, but an IPO changes that overnight. The moment SpaceX shares start trading on the stock market as of June 12th, the price stops being a guess and it becomes a live number set every single second by thousands and thousands of buyers and sellers. As it pertains to Elon's shares, the IPO does not hand him anything new, but what it does is let the public market put a giant, glowing, real-time price tag on stock that was already sitting in his name. When I say the IPO makes Musk a trillionaire, what it really means is that the stock market is now publicly pricing shares Elon Musk already owned. Now, this next part is the part that rightfully drives people up the wall when they understand it. Because
I believe Elon Musk owns about like 4 billion shares of SpaceX, and that's why he was able to acquire that trillion valuation.
You would think, okay, the guy is worth $1 trillion on paper, but that paper is not cash, it's a stock. So to actually live a billionaire life or whatever, he has to sell stock. And when he sells stock, he pays a huge tax, right? Wrong. He doesn't have to sell anything. Almost no one at that level of wealth sells anything. There is a strategy the ultra wealthy use, and it has a grim little nickname: buy, borrow, die. You buy assets, you hold them forever, and when you need actual cash, you do not sell. You go to a bank and you borrow against the stock. You pledge your shares as collateral and bank hands you a low interest loan. And a loan is not income. You do not pay tax on a loan. So you get spendable cash, your stock keeps growing, and you never trigger the tax bill that selling would create. Elon himself has done versions of this in the past. Tesla's own filings show he has pledged hundreds of millions of Tesla shares as collateral for personal loans. When he was financing the Twitter purchase, a chunk of that was margin loans backed by Tesla stock. He has even borrowed $1 billion directly from SpaceX, secured by SpaceX stock. And the die part of the nickname is the darkest piece. When wealth like this passes to heirs, the tax code resets the clock on that wealth, and a lifetime of gains can pass down having never been taxed at all. Now, to Elon's credit, almost all the money he gets from these loans he uses to invest back into companies, which create value for society and shareholders by creating super valuable products, services, and assets that objectively make the world a better place. However, it's a massive loophole in the US system that needs to be patched up as soon as possible, because it can and does get abused, but this is a story for a different day. Now, stack all of this up. A founder owns a huge concentrated slice of a company. The company grows like a weed. His slice captures every bit of that growth. And then an IPO comes along and makes his shares worth a lot more, to the point where he becomes a trillionaire.
And the thing about Elon Musk is that, if he were to pass, and then, all of his money, all that stuff that's like tied up into his stocks and everything, that would go to his heirs and stuff, the children that he has, and I'm guessing the wives and stuff that he has, it's like, would they be able to carry on his businesses and stuff, or would that just fall to the wayside? It would kind of, I would wonder, if the businesses would kind of like die without his leadership, or if they could carry on without him. That's something to think about.
And goes a long way. Thank you so much. Now, everything I've told you so far is well and dandy, but it is also not the whole story, not even close, because the $1 trillion in one man's name does not exist in a vacuum. It exists in a country, and it exists at a very specific moment in that country's history. And that moment is not a calm one. Far from it. In the fall of 2025, the Federal Reserve released a set of numbers it has been tracking since 1989. And the numbers show that the richest 1% of American households now own 32% of all the wealth in the country. And almost a third of the wealth in the US is held by 1% of its population. That is the highest it has been in the entire history that the Fed has tracked it. Now go up another level. The top 1/10 of 1%, these are mostly all the billionaires and a bunch of 100 millionaires and the trillionaire, they alone hold around 14% of all the wealth in America and close to a quarter of the entire stock market. Now rewind to 1989, the start of this data set. Back then, the top 1% held around 24%. So in a single generation, the slice held by the very top has climbed by something like 8 full percentage points. And the bottom half of the entire country,
David, welcome to the stream, sir. Hey, Camp, what's on the agenda? Well, we're talking about the Elon Musk becoming the world's first trillionaire, man, and just kind of like delving into the facts and the misconceptions about it and, what it truly means. I know a lot of videos that I was watching, people were talking about, if he has $1 trillion, he could basically give money to everybody and basically give houses. He could house the homeless. He could feed, every person who's going hungry for a solid year. He could buy up all of the NBA teams, NFL teams and stuff if he wanted. And, it's like, yeah, he could, but like, why would he? It's like, and, people are speculating. It's like, just because he has this money doesn't mean that he can actually do, any good for the world. He has these ambitious goals of trying to colonize Mars and trying to set up a planetary visitation to the moon for the consumer level and stuff, but I don't know how realistic it is in his lifetime of actually achieving that, and how fast it can actually be implemented. So but no, I mean, we're just kind of just going into this a little bit, because, it is recent news and it's something I wanted to talk about. And, just to kind of understand what $1 trillion truly is, because a lot of people think, $1 billion is a crazy amount of money, which it is, but then when you go from $1 billion to $1 trillion, the distance between those two is it's enormous. And I don't think a lot of people grasp that. So that's why we're going over this today.
160 some odd million people. They hold around 2% of wealth combined. This is the ground Elon Musk's trillion is about to land on. And it is why the politics around this are so volatile. And it's going to be the main event for the back half of this video, because boy, it's about to get wild. There is a movement in American politics right now, and it has been building for years, and its message is very blunt. Senator Bernie Sanders has spent the last few years doing what he literally calls a fighting oligarchy tour.
I saw one of his tweets saying that now we should absolutely find a reason to tax the rich now. Now that we have a first trillionaire in this country, we should definitely try to jump on that and try to make that happen.
This woman, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, or AOC, has a line she has made famous: every billionaire is a policy failure. The idea behind that line is that no one becomes a billionaire purely on their own merits, that getting that rich always involves tax structures and rules and policy choices that let the wealth pile up instead of getting spread around. And in 2026, Bernie Sanders, along with Congressman Ro Khanna, put forward a bill to put an annual wealth tax, a tax not on income, but on the fortune itself, on America's roughly 950 billionaires. And it is not just two politicians on the left. Senator Elizabeth Warren has been pushing a proposal she calls the ultra millionaire tax. The idea idea is a 2% annual tax on household wealth above $50 million and an extra 1% on top of that above $1 billion. And the public broadly is not against this. A poll from early 2026 found that around 80% of Americans see wealth inequality as a real problem, and around 62% think billionaires are taxed too little. Now, this is one poll of many. Now I'm going to put forth the most popular arguments for and against this. Regardless of what my personal opinions are, I want to make sure you fully understand the landscape that this whole thing is happening in. Here's one of the strongest versions. A democracy is supposed to run on one person, one vote. Everybody equal in the voting booth, but money does not stay in the voting booth. Money buys advertising. Money buys lobbyists. It buys media companies. It funds campaigns. And in the 2024 election, Elon Musk was the single largest individual donor in the entire country. He put something in the range of $250 to $280 million into backing his preferred candidate. After that candidate won, Musk went and ran a federal cost-cutting effort inside the government for several months called Doge. So here is one private citizen who can spend $250 million on an election, then walk into the government and help reshape it, all while his companies hold billions of dollars in federal contracts. And the populist argument says that is one person with so much economic power that the playing field of democracy itself starts to tilt towards him, not because he broke a rule, but because the sheer size of his fortune bends the field around it. And when his personal fortune hits $1 trillion, that tilt only gets steeper. And then there is the other side, which objectively doesn't get nearly enough airtime in mainstream publications, but is just as strong. The argument is that where the money came from actually matters. There is a difference between a fortune built by extracting something, by inheriting it, or by cornering a market and squeezing it, or by lobbying the government for protected monopoly, which happens a lot, versus a fortune built by making things that people voluntarily choose to buy. Every dollar of that wealth came from somebody, somewhere, deciding that the thing on offer was worth more to them than the money in their pocket. And the data backs up that this kind of wealth is becoming the norm, not the exception. Back in 1984, fewer than half the people on the Forbes 400 list were self-made, but today is around 2/3, closer to 70%. The era of the pure inherited dynasty is actually fading. More of today's giant fortunes were built by the person holding them than at almost any point in modern American history. Now, if we hit the wealth tax sounds clean on paper, but gets very messy in practice. Most of the European countries that tried a broad wealth tax have since repealed it. Austria dropped theirs, France dropped theirs, Germany, the Netherlands, Sweden, Denmark, Finland, one after another, they got rid of them. And why? The reasons were consistent. The taxes raised far less money than promised, often around 0.2% of the economy. They were a nightmare to administer because how exactly do you put an annual price on a private company or a piece of art every single year or someone's belongings? Think about the privacy implications. So what happened? Wealthy people just moved. The track record of the actual policy is genuinely rough. There is an economist at the University of Chicago named Stephen Kaplan, and he argues that a heavy wealth tax applied year after year could have actually killed companies like Tesla and SpaceX in their cradle. Think back to 2008. Both companies almost died. If, on top of that, Elon had been forced to sell off chunks of his ownership every single year just to pay an annual tax bill on stock that was not even producing cash, he might have lost control of the very companies he was trying to save. The thing that lets a founder make insane, long horizon, almost suicidal bets is concentrated ownership that he does not have to liquidate. Tax that away and you might not get fewer billionaires, you will destroy the entire economic foundation that drives innovation and progress. So that is the fight. One side says concentration of this size is a threat to democracy itself. The other side says this particular wealth was earned by building and the cure could be worse than the disease. And honestly, both of those things can be true at the same time. This is what makes this so hard. Now let's zoom out for the second from the money and just look at what one person actually controls. SpaceX flew around 165 Falcon 9 rockets in a single year. That one company now puts the majority of all the mass that humanity sends to orbit into orbit. If you want to put something into space, a satellite, a science instrument, piece of national security infrastructure, the realistic answer for most of the planet is you call SpaceX or you just don't go. Then there is Starlink with 10 million subscribers in over 100 countries beaming internet from space. In some parts of the world, it is the only option, and it has been decisive in actual wars. Ukraine probably wouldn't exist today if it wasn't for Starlink. Then there is XAI, a frontier artificial intelligence lab building one of the handful of most advanced AI systems on Earth. And then there is Tesla sitting on a mountain of real-world driving data and one of the largest robotics efforts in the world. And that, not the $1 trillion number, is the concentration that I think actually matters. The ability to decide who gets to launch, who gets connected, and how the most powerful technology in human history gets built. That is a hand on the actual architecture of the modern world. I explored this extremely deeply in my new book, Master Plan: What Elon Musk is Really Building, which talks about how Elon is building the foundation for the next generation of the economy and how everyone can position themselves during this insane time. I'll have links for the books in the description and the comment section below. And if you'd like to discuss topics like these, join my community at farzad.fm, where you'll get exclusive content.
So, I mean, I guess looking at it as a whole, you know, the contributions that Elon Musk has made in terms of moving technology forward, in terms of space exploration and keeping us, you know, connected through, you know, Starlink and with other countries and all that stuff. Also with, you know, backing of OpenAI, you know, giving, you know, all types of, what's it called? My brain is just, my brain is mush listening to this whole thing because, yeah, it's like I really don't have much to really say about all this. Is like, I don't really look into Elon Musk too much about in terms of like things that he's done, but it just seems like the impact that this guy has had, you know, is it's a very ambitious goal that he has, and you know, it's whether people really want to put their money behind Elon Musk in terms of, you know, what his goals are and if they really support that type of future. But there are some people that really don't think that he's contributed anything to that's like valuable to society. You know, the fact that he has the amount of money that could fix world hunger, people that, you know, are homeless and stuff. You know, he could help the world that way, but he chooses not to. There's a lot of voices saying that too. And so I don't know, this whole thing about, you know, taxing the rich and I don't know, taking away people having the ability to build wealth and stuff, and then having to kind of, I don't know, like keep them or gatekeep them from, you know, actually becoming, you know, more larger than life type millionaires and billionaires, whatever. It's like, yeah, it's like, you know, there are systems in place for the middle class to basically pay their taxes on what they make and stuff like that. But then, you know, there are these tax breaks for the ultra rich where they can kind of skirt that responsibility, keep their money tied into other assets and, you know, stocks and stuff like that, and then just borrow money and not have to get penalized for that. It just seems like, yeah, I mean, there are definitely there's breaks that the ultra rich get to take advantage of, whereas, you know, normal people like you and me, it's like that's not really afforded to us. So yeah, it's definitely unfair, man. But again, you know, I think we all have the same 24 hours, and you know, whether we use that 24 hours wisely to improve our lives through, you know, studying a skill or a trade and stuff, and then just finding a way to create a possibly maybe a product or a service that people want, you know, anything is possible, especially in this capitalist society. And it's just a matter of reaching that, and also protecting that product or patent or whatever that you create. So I don't know, man. It's interesting, but, you know, it's like not only do you have to create something, but you also have to scale it into a way where, yeah, it's gonna have futuristic incomplete futuristic applications, you know, things that will be used over, generations and stuff long after you're dead. So that definitely takes a special type of mind, to be that so forward thinking, which Elon Musk, of course, does have that that type of mindset. So, hate him or love him, man. It's like he definitely has been he has made a lot of moves, but he's also put a lot of money and a lot of risk into his businesses and stuff that could have completely become volatile, and the value could be lost, So yeah, it's just something to think about.
Our Discord channel and weekly Q&As with myself and the community. And now we arrive finally to the part I have been building towards this entire freaking video. Welcome to script writing. Do you remember how Rockefeller's fortune was a little over 2% in 1913? Now let's do the same math for Elon Musk. Let's call his wealth $1 trillion. The economy he is sitting inside of in the United States in 2026 is roughly $30 to $32 trillion. So run the division. 1 trillion divided by 30 trillion is roughly 3% of the total US economy. But now let's look at both numbers side by side. Rockefeller at about 3%. Elon at about 3%. They are basically the same. The first trillionaire in human history is not, in the way that actually counts, the richest person in human history. He might not even be in the top 3. The actual list: Rockefeller, Andrew Carnegie, Cornelius Vanderbilt, those Gilded Age names have a real claim to standing above him, at least for now. Carnegie sold his steel company in 1901 in a deal that helped create US Steel, and that one company was worth a staggering slice of a much smaller economy. Vanderbilt, when he died in 1877, held a fortune that by itself approached 1% of the entire country, back when the country was tiny. And if you go back far enough, before there were any records at all, you reach a figure like Mansa Musa, the emperor of Mali in the 1300s, whose wealth in gold historians simply describe as incalculable. But here's the reality. We have one person whose fortune was genuinely mostly built by making things that hundreds of millions of people chose to buy or use between all his companies. And we have that same person now holding a degree of influence over space, communication, and artificial intelligence that no private citizen has ever held before. And here's the reality. $1 trillion is probably the first of many for Elon Musk. If SpaceX is successful in its mission of putting millions of satellites in orbit to power AI, colonize the moon and Mars, and Tesla is successful in making millions of self-driving cars per year that can operate anywhere, and it is successful in making tens of millions of humanoid robots that can do any task in the physical world, Elon's net worth is likely much closer to 10 trillion instead of $1 trillion. Not financial investment advice. Believe it or not, he's likely just getting started. This is actually insane to think about. But the man Elon Musk is about to be measured against did not just pile up money. In 1889, Andrew Carnegie wrote an essay called The Gospel of Wealth. His argument was that a rich man has a moral duty to give his fortune away usefully while he is still alive to do it. And Carnegie's most famous line was a warning aimed at people exactly like himself. Quote, "The man who dies thus rich dies disgraced." And then he actually did it. Carnegie gave away around $350 million, close to 90% of everything he had. He built over 2,500 public libraries. Rockefeller founded a university and the Medical Research Institute that became Rockefeller University. And so the real question becomes, what will Elon Musk's legacy be given his trajectory? Will he be remembered for hoarding wealth to a point where the entire world has to bow down to his will, or will he use that wealth to create unbelievable things for human flourishing, or will it be somewhere in between? Only time will tell, but one thing is for certain, we are truly living through one of the most insane times in human history, and if you want to keep up with all this freaking craziness, subscribe, buy the books, become a member. And if you're a content creator or always wanted to be one, check out Farzad.ai, which is my end-to-end tool that I use to create content.
Shout out to this creator here, Farzad. It's the first time I've ever seen him, first time we were talking about on the channel. And, a lot of good insight in terms of like understanding the financial structure around Elon Musk and stuff in terms of his businesses and, corporations and also influence and stuff. A lot of the stuff is really, if you put it into just raw thought in terms of like what he could do with the money that he has, I went ahead and screenshotted this. I wanted to show you guys. So if Elon Musk distributed his $1 trillion, we were able to liquidate all of that stuff, all of his assets and all of his stocks and stuff, he would be able to distribute $122 per person to everyone on Earth. That's men, women, and children, or roughly about $3,000 to every American adult before completely exhausting his net worth. I thought that was interesting. There's one more I wanted to show you guys. In terms of the national debt, now, this is something not really connected to Elon Musk, but I always wanted to kind of, it immediately made me think about this. So the national debt of the United States stands around $39.2 trillion. Let me see if I can make that a little bigger. So according to the U.S. Treasury debt to the penny tracking system, this total is divided into two primary categories. Debt held by the public, roughly $31.6 trillion, which includes Treasury securities held by investors, foreign governments, and the Federal Reserve. Intergovernmental holdings, roughly $7.6 trillion, representing money the government owes to other federal trust funds such as Social Security and Medicare. Still, I mean, if one person could earn enough in terms of like stocks and all that stuff like that to pay off the national debt, I think Elon Musk could be the one man to do it. That would be pretty cool. But does he have to do it? Is he obligated to do it? Absolutely not. But I just thought it'd be something pretty cool to think about. So, but yeah, shout out to Farzad with his video here.
Okay, so Elon Musk is now the first trillionaire. That's trillion as in $1,000 billion. And it's all thanks to the record-breaking IPO for his company, SpaceX. SpaceX is now trading publicly on the NASDAQ stock exchange. In its first few hours of public trading, shares shot up like a rocket, you might say as much as 30%. In addition to its widely known rocket launches and partnerships with NASA, SpaceX also has the Starlink satellite internet business and an artificial intelligence branch known as XAI.
Boy, $1 trillion.
That's crazy.
Right, and it's hard to imagine. So $1 trillion
really
or
is.
trillion of anything, really hard to comprehend. So NBC News tried to help with some graphics.
Okay, so we want you to take a look at this one. So that's a size comparison. So Elon Musk standing next to a Tesla and $1.7 billion. That's just billion with a B. That's worth $100 bills. So you're going to change that stack of bills to $1.7 trillion instead. So the value of the SpaceX IPO. And here's how it actually stacks up next to the Statue of Liberty and a SpaceX Starship rocket.
Wow. All right, so this is really cool. This is another comparison, but instead of dollars, we're going to put it in terms of time. 1 million seconds ago, a million. That's about 11 and a half days ago. 1 billion seconds ago takes you back to 1994, and 1
that says 1984, not 1994, but okay.
Billion seconds ago takes you back to 29,000 years BC.
I can't even fathom.
That's
right?
insane.
I know.
I mean, wow. Okay.
I'm like the pebble that's stuck in the Tesla tire. That's probably about all the wealth that I've got.
That's
right there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm way down there. But,
yeah, it's kind of crazy when you try to quantify like a trillion, just the number a trillion. It's just, to me, it doesn't, it's still kind of in that like unknown territory for me, like, I don't know. I think, what was this? Oh, this one. Elon Musk, he went on Joe Rogan and he said that he could not fix America. So let's watch this one.
One of the things he said when we stepped away is that you're kind of done and that it's unfixable. That, or under its current form, the way people are approaching it.
You can make it directionally better, but ultimately you can't fully fix the system. I it would be accurate to say that even like unless you could go like super draconian, like Genghis Khan level on
cutting waste and fraud, which you can't really do in a democratic country, or an aspirationally democratic country, then there's no way to solve the debt crisis. So we got national debt that's just insane, where the debt payments, the interest payments on the debt exceed our entire military budget. I mean, that was one of the wake-up calls for me. I was like, wait a second.
Yeah, I remember seeing this in an infographic somewhere, that the amount of money that's currently in circulation is not enough to cover the amount that is owed back. So every dollar, basically, if you were to take every dollar out of circulation, it still wouldn't cover the interest that is owed in terms of the national debt. So it's pretty much no way. There's no way to pretty much pay off the national debt. There's just not enough money. Coke May says he stutters almost as much as Fresh. Dude, I was gonna say the same shit, dude. When he first started, he was just like, I was like, oh shit. Like, I did hear that Elon Musk was autistic at some point. Like, I don't know if that's true or not, but it would make a lot of sense.
Interest on a national debt is bigger than the entire military budget, and growing. This is crazy. So even if you implement all these savings, you're only delaying the day of reckoning for when America goes bankrupt. So unless you go full Genghis Khan, which you can't really do. So
I wonder what that means, going full Genghis Khan. Does anybody have an idea what that means when he says that? Going full Genghis Khan means unleashing ruthless, total conquest and sweeping through obstacles with absolute, uncompromising force. Historically, it refers to the 13th century warlord who united nomadic tribes to forge the largest contiguous empire in history, stretching from the Pacific to the Mediterranean. Modern or pop culture usage generally boils down to a few core categories depending on what you're trying to do. Okay. But basically it just means being ruthless, total conquest, sweeping through, and basically complete control of the nation.
So I came to the conclusion that the only way to get us out of the debt crisis and to prevent America from going bankrupt is AI and robotics. So, like, we need to grow the economy at a rate that allows us to pay off our debt. I guess people just generally don't appreciate the degree to which the government overspending is a problem. But even like the Social Security website, this is under the Biden administration. On the website, it would say like we based on current demographic trends and how much money Social Security is bringing in versus how many Social Security recipients there are, because we have an aging population. Relatively speaking, the average age is increasing. Social Security will not be able to maintain its full payments, I think, by 2032. So Social Security will have to start reducing the amount of money that's been paid to people in about 7 years.
And so the only way to fix that, robotics, manufacturing, raise GDP.
You've got to basically massively increase the economic output, and the only way to do that is AI and robotics. So basically, we're going bankrupt without AI and robotics, even with a bunch of savings. The savings.
So, what I'm trying to understand here is that if you increase AI and robotics, basically replacing, human jobs, whatever, like technical jobs, like warehouse jobs and stuff, kind of like what they're doing with Amazon, where they have these robots that are doing all of the sorting jobs, and they're able to work at 900% productivity compared to a human that has to take like a piss break, every couple hours and, take time off and everything like that. These robots can pretty much go the full shift without taking a break. You increase that means you're going to take away jobs for human people. So how are humans going to be able to have money to pay for goods and services, if they're not working, you know? I don't know. I don't know how you fix that problem. It's like, yeah, you can increase productivity, but then by that you're taking away jobs from people. And you know, it's really going to be like, what's going to be left? You know, it's like you already see in grocery stores that they're replacing cashiers, and you know, there's some stores that replace full staff altogether. It's literally just what's it called, the Amazon store. I think you can just go in and you scan your phone, and you go in, you grab whatever you want, and then you get a receipt on your phone of everything that you have, and it's completely empty. There's like no people that work there and stuff. I think that if all stores did that, yeah, you would eliminate so many jobs, and but then yeah, we'd have to figure out how are people going to earn money unless everybody gets an allowance, you know, at this point, you know, like a set amount per month, I guess, to live off of. But I don't know, then that would kind of take away the drive that people would have in order to, you know, earn a living, you know, because you're taking away their options to earn a living, you know. I don't know. It's tough, man, because I'm thinking the people that are gonna have the trades, those people are gonna probably be the last ones standing, because now they already have, like, truck drivers, they're in trouble. They're gonna have self-driving trucks that are gonna eliminate that profession. And yeah, as far as people that, you know, do ride share and stuff, I mean, there's self-driving cars. That's kind of already in the stage already of, you know, it's already going to be mass marketed. So I would probably say maybe in the next 5 to 10 years, you know, all rideshare will be all automated, you know, so there won't be these gig economy jobs for people. You know, they got those robots now that are delivering food and everything, and you know, they're doing that now. So yeah, I mean, if there's not robots, it's going to be drones that are going to be delivering stuff to people. They already have that. So yeah, man, it's gonna be very difficult to find work, I think, in the future, at least in terms of like you know, entry level. It's gonna be very tough.
Like reducing waste and fraud can give us a longer runway, but it cannot ultimately pay off our national debt.
So what do you think the solution is to the jobs that are going to be lost because of AI and robotics, the jobs due to automation, the jobs due to no longer do we need human beings to do these jobs because AI is doing them? Do you think it's going to be some sort of a universal basic income thing? Do you think there's going to be some other kind of solution that has to be implemented? Because a lot of people are going to be out of work, right?
I think there will be actually a high demand for jobs, but not necessarily the same jobs. So, I mean, this is actually, this process has been happening throughout modern history. I mean, there used to be like doing calculations manually with like a pencil and paper. It used to be a job. So they used to have like buildings full of people, cold computers, where the banks would like, all you do all day is you do calculations because they didn't have computers. They didn't have digital computers that people
Abacus.
do. Yeah.
Well, so he's talking about like data entry jobs, whatever, pretty much, you know, like doing calculations, whatever, but also, you know, inputting data into computers and stuff. Whereas now they have AI that can pretty much do all that fairly quickly and eliminate the human error aspect of that. So that job's going to go away. That doesn't really answer the question that Joe just asked him. He's like, what would be the solution to jobs that are normally handled by people that are now going to be, you know, pretty much eliminated through AI and robotics? What would be the solution for that? And I don't think he answers that here. I think he just goes into about how people that did the jobs of entering in data into computers, whatever, were completely taken out from AI. Maybe he gets to an answer here. We'll see.
Well, there's just people who just like add and subtract stuff on a piece of paper, and that would be how banks would do, you know, financial processing.
And you'd have to literally go over their equations to make sure the books are balanced.
Yeah, and most times it's just simple math. Like, you know, like in a world before computers, how did you calculate? How did you do transactions? You had to do them by hand. So then when computers were introduced, the job of doing, you know, bank calculations no longer existed. So people had to go do something else. And that's what's going to happen. That's what is happening at an accelerated rate due to AI and then robotics.
So, I mean, if you were to just, I guess, think about the jobs that are in demand right now in terms of like doctors, lawyers, stuff like that, they have robots that perform heart surgery, really complicated surgeries, whatever, that, are, I would say, just as good as an actual doctor, if not better. And maybe, I don't know, people that make pharmaceuticals, but I think even that could be automated too. It could be automated on an assembly line. So I don't know, man. Honestly, I couldn't tell you like what profession would be available for humans in the next like 20 to 30 years that could not be susceptible to automation. If you guys can think of one, I would be very interested to know, because if it just comes down to programming a robot to perform a duty or to fix something, I think it would just be a matter of it would be up to the programmer to know the ins and outs of every different thing. But I don't know, maybe electricians might be safe, at least for a while, because I know robots will malfunction every once in a while. So you're going to need electricians for those robotics, to fix the robots. So I'm guessing that might be one job off the top of my head that might be available. So, Coke Benny, for now, you're safe, dude. Seems like it.
The issue, though, right? The accelerated rate, because it's going to be.
It's the accelerator. It's just happening. Like I said, like AI is the supersonic tsunami. So that's what I call it, supersonic tsunami. So
yeah, Coke Benny's like, I'm safe. Yeah, you're safe. You're safe for now, man. Because somebody's gonna need to work on the robots. When the robots, break down and stuff over time, because everything. Not everything is built to last, or at least over, long periods of time and stuff like that. So, yeah, I think electricians are good for now.
It's like, what other jobs will be available that aren't available now because of AI?
Well, AI is really still digital. Ultimately, AI can improve the productivity of humans who build things with their hands or do things with their hands, like literally welding, electrical work, plumbing, anything that's physically moving atoms, like cooking food or farming or like anything that's physical. Those jobs will exist for a much longer time. But anything that is digital, which is like just someone at a computer doing something, AI is going to take over those jobs like lightning.
So Coke Benny came back and says, unless they find something to replace electricity. Well, every time, they find like an alternative source of power, the person that invents it typically goes missing. So I think electricity and gas is going to be around for a while, because at least the people that are, interested in keeping those, products going and stuff like that, they will find a way to snuff out the people that try to create alternate forms of energy. So, I don't know, maybe a solar panel, repairman, I'm pretty sure that would be a job, that would be okay. But yeah, a lot of repairman jobs, would probably still be okay. In terms of plumbing, yes, I think plumbing would be a job that would definitely be okay. Maybe like HVAC, stuff like that. Yeah, I think that would be okay.
Coding, anything along those lines. Yeah.
It's going to take over those jobs like lightning. Just like digital computers took over the job of people doing manual calculations, but much faster.
So what happens to all those people? Like, what kind of numbers are we talking about? Like, you're going to lose most drivers, right? Commercial drivers. You're going to have automated vehicles, AI-controlled systems. Just like there's certain ports in China, I think in Singapore, where everything's completely automated.
Yeah, mostly. Yeah.
So you're going to lose a lot of those jobs, longshoreman jobs, trucking, commercial drivers.
But yeah, like cars are Cars.
Cook May says HVAC's biggest enemy is summer and winter. I mean, yeah, dude. I mean, I've actually run into a couple of people that have, gone into that industry, and yeah, dude, it definitely is it's good money. It's good money right now, and I don't see HVAC technicians getting replaced by machines anytime soon. So I think that's a solid industry to get into.
They're going to be autonomous. But there's just so many desk jobs where really what people are doing is they're processing email, or they're answering the phone, and just anything that is.
Cook came back and said, "Scratch that. Those are the biggest allies." I meant spring. Yeah, spring. Yeah. Oh man, like, dude. I mean, I'm still trying to rack my brain on like what's still going to be around. Like, I think like even customer service has gotten to the point of automation where like you don't even talk to a person anymore. You just touch like a dial pad that takes you to like a dialogue tree of different things. And like I'm always trying to find a way to speak to a customer representative, like an actual person, because I feel like I get a lot more done with a human than like an automated system. I hate automated systems on phones. And I hope that at least the human element of customer service still sticks around, because I think you kind of have to have that, because only humans can truly understand other humans. I think robots can only go so far in terms of interpreting what we need.
That isn't moving atoms, like anything that is not physically, like doing physical work, that will obviously be the first thing. Those jobs will be and are being eliminated by AI at a very rapid pace.
Yeah, farming is going away, because you have basically all these, automatic tractor trailer, machines, whatever, that literally just by a push of a button can clear a whole field of crops, without any type of, sweat, and then, any type of food processing and stuff, and was a quality assistance and stuff, like, you got people that are standing on assembly lines just looking at stuff and just catching anything that is, that looks out of place, whatever. If you have a machine that's programmed to catch that kind of stuff, then yeah, you can completely eliminate warehouse jobs too.
And ultimately, working will be optional, because you'll have robots plus AI, and we'll have, in a benign scenario, universal high income, not just universal basic income, universal high income, meaning anyone can have any products or services that they want.
Okay, that sounds nice.
Elon Musk is the world.
That sounds nice, Mr. Elon Musk, but like, how can we just afford this stuff? How can they afford to just, I don't know if they'd be able to afford to just give it away like that. I don't think that's a reality. I think it's just, there's always going to be the have and have nots. I do think that it's going to come down to people that actually have money, whether it's like inherited wealth, or, generational wealth or something, or, whatever like that. Those are the ones that are going to be able to benefit. And everybody else that was, working, on the ground level, yeah, they're going to just die out, unfortunately. Maybe they're going to get relegated to like these slum towns or whatever, where like, you can still work and do those jobs and stuff, but you're going to be a very lower state of living. I'm thinking that's kind of where it's going to evolve to. This guy right here, Philip DeFranco, he did a little short on this, the largest IPO ever, talking about him, SpaceX selling public.
World's first trillionaire after the successful IPO of SpaceX. Because SpaceX priced its IPO at $135 a share, officially making it the largest public offering in history. And it also meant that Elon Musk's net worth jumped from roughly $795 billion to over $1.1 trillion by midday Friday. So Musk's net worth now makes him richer than Larry Page, Sergey Brin, and Jeff Bezos combined, or I guess about 7 Warren Buffetts. And while there are many that are celebrating, the fact that there's a trillionaire in the world at all, it's rubbed some people the wrong way. Senator Bernie Sanders blasted it.
Oh, Coke Manny came back and says, nobody needs AC or heat in the spring. That's true. That is true. But I mean, I don't know. Where I live in Georgia, it stays pretty hot all throughout the year. So I'm not blasting the AC, but I do like to keep it a cool, like 68 degrees if I can.
it as an absurdity and is calling for an increase on the taxable income cap. There, people say, Musk doesn't have $1 trillion just sitting around. That number kind of just exists on paper. Noting that Musk controls over 82% of the voting power at SpaceX post-IPO, with the massive catch there being that he can't sell a single share for a year. And of course, in the business world, a lot can happen, especially if this AI bubble ever pops. And while it's also complicated because on one hand, Musk can't get taxed on this until he actually sells. On the other hand, billionaires often leverage the fact that they have these assets for huge lines of credit, and those are not taxed. So it leads to the situations where they have access to the cash without really ever getting taxed because they never sell an asset. And on the business side, that year pause, it gives investors more time to scrutinize SpaceX, which reportedly lost over $41 billion since 2002, though you have Musk claiming that it's actually cash flow positive since 2015. And he hopes that'll expand as the company continues to bet heavily on Starlink, XAI, and even putting a man on Mars. Though as far as SpaceX's value from here over the coming weeks and months, you have experts saying it could go all over the place. But at least for now, it's looking like a massive win for Musk, with many seeming to be investing into Musk himself and the hype around him rather than any of the actual numbers that people have been seeing. But hey, time will tell, so follow to stay in the loop.
And I do wonder that as long as Musk has his stocks with SpaceX and all these other companies, Neuralink, the Boring Company, and all the Starlink and all that stuff, if he has all of his money tied up in all of these stocks and everything, and then somehow something happens where the stock crashes, or maybe even the dollar crashes, and there's just it crashes below whatever it's worth and stuff. It's like there would be he would have to massively get rid of that stuff and liquidate it just so that he could have any type of capital left of value. But like I said, the dollar crashes, everything crashes, and like this whole $1 trillion thing doesn't really mean much, because of the spending power of a dollar is linked to that. So, but the benefit of being Elon Musk is that, yeah, you do have this reputation of being this richest man in the world. So pretty much you could walk into any bank and get a loan and he'll be approved because everybody knows that he's good for it. So he could just live off of that alone, man. Like just going into banks and just asking for loans and not have to worry about, getting taxed on any of it. So that's it's kind of crazy, man, when you think about it in terms of like the ultra rich and how they get around having money, I don't know if there's anything else that I got, man. I want to let's double check back because I want to make sure I don't miss anything before I get off. There is one more here by Mr. Young Don Reacts. He did one by
SpaceX isn't just a
what's his face, Elon Musk becoming a trillionaire. This is from 6 days ago. This was something I saw earlier, but let's check it out. Mr. Young Don Reacts.
That sells internet. According to Musk, it's the future. Data centers in space.
If sending my predictions.
Oh,
data centers in space, bro. Only fucking idiots buy what this guy is selling, bro. What are you smoking? Why would we put data centers in space? The American dream. Did it ever exist? I don't know. But if it did, here's what I do know. That shit is fucking dead, bro. And billionaires killed it. Yeah, today we're going to be talking about what is shaping up to be one of the greatest wealth transfers in world history. Definitely American history. And that's because Elon Musk is days away from becoming, quite possibly, the world's first trillionaire. That's right, baby. Trillion with a T.
and that happened, I believe, as of the 13th of Saturday. I believe that was when it was reported. So yeah, dude, all that stuff.